Greetings and welcome back to the Hypnorth Natural Birthing Podcast. This is episode 2. My name is James T. Griffin.
And my name is Santha.
And the focus of today's podcast episode is first a brief introduction to how Hypnorth Natural Birthing came to be. And secondly, Santha is going to be sharing her experience of a natural, relaxed, and pain-free childbirthing experience. And we're going to focus on her first pregnancy. So before we get to that, I'm just going to share with you really briefly on how Hypnorth Natural Birthing came to be. So back in around 2021, that's when Santha and I connected. And Santha was going through some stuff in her life, as we all do, and she found out that I practice hypnosis. So we actually worked together where I provided with her some hypnosis to help her to navigate some of the twists and turns that we were all going through, because that was back in the lockdown years around 2021. So I really helped Santha just to navigate those twists and turns a little bit more effectively. And throughout the course of our work together, she said, James, this isn't the first time I had hypnosis. And I said, oh, well, how did you have it before? And she said, I actually had it for my childbirthing experiences. And I was aware of this, but I had not met a woman before who actually used it for childbirthing. And I said, well, how well did it work for you? And she said, it worked amazing. She had no pain with both of her pregnancies. And I thought that was really amazing because it was the first time I met a woman who was actually applied that. So it was fast forwarding to this year, 2025, where I said to Santha, I love your inspiring story about the pain-free, relaxing childbirthing. And I really feel that more women need to learn about this power that they have inside of themselves, because natural birthing has been increasing in popularity over the past few decades. And many women are becoming aware of the potential side effects, both short-term and long-term, of the epidural. So many are opening up their consciousness to other possibilities. So I said to Santha, how about we come together? I have nearly 20 years of hypnosis experience, and you had that basic training on hypnosis for easy natural childbirthing. So how about we co-create a program together? And that is how Hypnorth Natural Birthing came to be. So we look very forward to sharing with this incredible training program with as many women as possible, because many do not know that they do have the power to create more relaxation and to reduce, and in some cases, eliminate all pain during the birthing process. So that's a little bit of the history on how Hypnorth Natural Birthing came to be. So again, Santha and myself are co-founders of Hypnorth Natural Birthing. Next, let's move on to Santha's very inspiring story on how, for her first pregnancy, she got to be able to create a relaxing and pain-free childbirthing experience. So, Santha, you got the mic. We'd love to hear your story.
Thank you, James. When I was pregnant with my first child, I happened to meet this lady at work. She was a contractor for that week only, and she happened to be a Reiki master. And she told me that she had seen on TV very recently of a woman who used hypnosis for easy, pain-free childbirth. And it was a documentary show that she watched where this woman gave birth and was able to get up and walk around and do everything afterwards as if nothing had happened. I said, oh my God, I so want that for myself, because my mother always complained that she was in labor pains for 3 full days before I finally came out. And I didn't want that experience. So I was determined to find a better way. And when Kathy, my friend, told me about hypnosis for easy childbirth, I immediately took action. I looked in the 411 yellow pages and found some hypnosis centers and practitioners. I interviewed 3 of them, and I went with this pretty big hypnosis center in Toronto and started hypnosis for easy childbirth training. It took 3 weeks to kick in. 3 weeks of listening to the audio cassette tapes over and over, night and day. And once it kicked in, I had the best sleep ever. Because up to that point, I had intermittent insomnia. So I would sleep well for maybe 1 or 2 nights and then sleep poorly for the next 1 or 2 nights. And this cycle continued due to work stress, life stresses, etc. But once the 3 weeks had kicked in, I slept through all the noises, through my husband's snoring and all other noises in my final trimester, when it would have been the most difficult time for women to sleep, I slept the best. I wish I had started this training earlier. And my baby was very responsive to any music or any messages that I listened to in the hypnosis tapes for easy childbirth. And I had a really good connection with my baby, and I would play with him, and I would play with him by touching my tummy, and he would respond by kicking back. So we could be playing this game of touching and him kicking back for sometimes a long time, sometimes felt like over an hour. And I felt like my baby was super smart. I'm sure that this hypnosis training made him smarter. And he was very responsive to classical music and the hypnosis music with the messages. So then came time for my delivery. By that time, my body was so attuned to hearing hypnosis, these same 5 or 6 hypnosis tapes over and over again, that as soon as I started listening to the first few seconds, I would already be fully relaxed and in kind of like in a trance, but still fully awake and alert, but completely relaxed and happy, like this happy, joyous feeling. And my water broke, and I was rushed to hospital by my husband on a summer day. And I was already having contractions for once every 4 minutes as soon as I got to the hospital. So it felt like it was coming fast. Now, because I am strep B positive, I was told by my doctor, Dr. Rose Kong, as well as the anesthesians in the hospital, that I was not allowed to give birth until at least 4 hours later, after I have received the full round of the antibiotics against strep B positive, in order to not pass my strep B positive bacteria to my unborn baby. So I had to hold it in, even though I felt the urge to push. I had to keep holding it in for at least 4 hours. And then finally, in about 6 hours time, I was ready to deliver. And Dr. Rose Kong asked me several times, "Do you want an epidural?" I said, "No." She said, "Are you sure?" I said, "Yes, I'm sure." And she actually came back several times to ask me during different hours of those contractions, "Are you sure you don't want an epidural?" I said, "Yes, I'm sure." And so I would play my hypnosis cassette tape through Walkman, but I could only listen to a few seconds at a time because I was interrupted constantly by different staff and interns and students and people. I just felt like I was constantly being interrupted. So I could only hear a few seconds of my cassette tape, and then somebody would be coming in to ask me the same questions. And then finally, everybody left me alone. And I felt like my contractions were a minute apart. And in those minute aparts, I actually would just fall asleep because I was that relaxed. I would just put my head down and fall asleep for several seconds or 30 seconds or whatever, 45 seconds or however few seconds there were before my next contraction started. And my contractions were in the form of tightness. So I never ever felt any pain throughout the entire process. I just felt intense tightness on my lower back. And I would breathe through them. And my husband at the time even filmed and took photos of me. And I told him, "Don't take photos of me. I don't look so good." Because I would have to breathe really hard throughout the tightening contractions. But I never had any pain though. But it was definitely some discomfort in the tightening process, but it was just tightening, and that was it. And then when the time came to deliver, I was 10 centimeters dilated. I wasn't large enough to deliver. So Dr. Rose actually said to me, "We would have to cut you." And I said, "Sure, go ahead." I didn't feel a thing. I did not feel any of the cutting pain at all. I didn't even know when she did it. She just said, "Okay, now push, push, push." And I actually was afraid to push because one of my girlfriends had hernia from pushing too hard because she was on an epidural and she couldn't feel how hard she was pushing. So she ended up having a hernia, and she had to carry around this IV dripper bag thing for 3 weeks after she delivered her first child. And And I was a little bit scared, so I didn't push hard enough. And all of a sudden, my baby's heart rate dropped. And Dr. Rose said, we have to have an emergency suction to get him out because his heart rate dropped so fast. And oh my God, I was praying. And but he came out fine. He had a bit of a cone head, my husband said. It looked a little scary. So he came out pretty quickly and he cried. And I said to him in Mandarin Chinese, baby, buku, buku, baby, meaning don't cry, baby, baby, don't cry. As soon as he heard my voice, he stopped crying. He just stayed calm. He was immediately, he turned purple because it was cold. He was immediately put under the light to stay warm. And then once he was passed over to me, he was staring at me with a smile on his face the whole time. We took, my husband took a picture of us and with Dr. Rose Kong and her team, as you can see in our flyer. So that was an amazing experience. And right after he came out, I was hungry. So while my baby was in under the light and being pampered and dressed and cleaned up and dressed by the doctor and the team, I asked my husband for a bagel. I immediately ate the bagel, drank the water, and I was fully awake, alert, and had no sign of any kind of trauma or even exertion. I was that energetic. So it was a completely wonderful, joyful experience. And I highly recommend it to everyone. Now, do you want to hear about my second birthing experience? You're on mute. James, you're on mute.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, my microphone died. I had a wireless microphone for better quality.
Oh,
so
that's okay. You can cut this part out.
Yeah, I'm going to cut it out. Okay. So I'll say.
Would you like to hear my second childbirthing experience?
We're actually going to be saving that one, Santha, for the next podcast episode as well. So that's going to be another very fascinating experience. Now, lastly, talk about after the pregnancy. How did you feel? How did you heal, repair, and regenerate compared to your average woman?
That was another miracle. The hypnosis messaging actually did say that if I was cut, and Dr. Rose did tell me that I had third-degree tear, just like anybody else would have had.
Yeah.
And she stitched me up, and I didn't feel any pain either. While she was stitching me up, she did tell me before she was stitching me up, and all I felt was little bits of pinching, as if like I got, little bits of ant bites.
Oh, okay.
That's all I felt, and there was no pain, and it didn't bother me at all. It was not scary at all, and it was not stressful at all. And the messaging did say that I was going to recover in a few days, and I did. I recovered. Like, I could not pee poo right after birth for a number of hours because of the swelling, but that's normal according to the doctor team. And so, but after that, I was able to do everything normally. I had a lot of energy. I walked my baby all over the hospital. I talked to my baby. I sang to him. He was very alert, awake, and intelligent. And I ate a lot. I not only ate my own hospital meal, I went and scavenged around the hospital every night for other leftover yogurts that other people left on their trays that were untouched. I ate those as well. And it was as if I never gave birth. It was just as if I was just a little girl running around in the hospital with a baby in my hands, like completely happy. And my baby slept through all the noises every night. I had to stay over at the hospital for 4 days because my baby actually had trouble latching and breastfeeding because my nipples were pointy. So I had to stay in the hospital to use the pump, breast pump, in order to pump out milk and reshape my nipples so that my baby could latch on better. And so my baby was super smart. The next morning after he was born, he was not even 24 hours old yet. I went to the washroom. He was still sleeping. I went to the wash, and he slept through the night through the colicky babies crying,
Yes.
who shared a room with us. And he was super calm and peaceful. And I went to the washroom while he was sleeping, and suddenly I heard him cry, "Mama, mama, mama." So I knew he woke up. So I ran to him. I looked at him while he was lying there in his crib. He saw me with lots of tears in his eyes. As soon as he saw me, he smiled a big smile. I gave him my fingers. He grabbed onto my fingers with his little baby hands, and he jumped onto his feet to standing.
That's incredible.
Just gave him a
Wow.
little lift, he jumped to standing. So he was a very strong baby, very smart and very alert. And I was so shocked. And he continued to display understanding of my language. I communicated with him in both Mandarin and English, and I speak Cantonese as well. So he seemed to understand whatever language I spoke to him, he understood. And he was very calm. He rarely cried. He would sleep for 5 hour stretches at a time or longer, to the point where the doctors and nurses were concerned that he was going to be jaundiced from oversleeping and underfeeding. So
Mhm.
actually had to wake him up. And he was a really intelligent baby. He hit all the major milestones way before other babies hit them.
Yes.
He was just an average size baby, 7 pounds, and 19 inches tall. But his intelligence and intuition and EQ seemed to be phenomenally high for a baby. So I believe that using hypnosis for easy childbirth, listening to the cassette tapes and the music
Yes.
and the message actually helped my baby be calmer and easygoing and actually really intelligent. And even now, my son is very accomplished. He's almost 21 years old. He just told me today that he won the intern of the quarter award at his co-op employer site yesterday, and was videotaped, and he sent me a video of him being interviewed and going on stage to receive his awards, which is so amazing. I'm so proud of him. He is an A student in school. He's extremely athletic. He used to play competitive basketball at age 10 to until 14, and he was the leader, the best player in his basketball league. Super agile and super athletic, and super smart in school, and a fast learner in every possible way possible, and also a very kind person.
Yes.
He would play with the children at school that other kids did not play with, like I did as a child. So I'm very, very proud of him. And my daughter, similarly, is another success story as well.
Which we'll cover tomorrow, which we'll cover in the next episode more accurately. Yeah. So a couple of questions, Santha, before we conclude the podcast. So number one, you strongly felt that the hypnosis helped you to improve your quality of sleep and comfort before giving birth. That's a yes. Great. And during the childbirthing process, you had no pain, and it was generally a relaxing, comfortable experience.
Yes, I told my husband to turn out the lights and go to sleep and don't bother me and let me relax and sleep in between my contractions. And he did. And he was amazed too. He totally couldn't believe what he saw. And Dr. Rose Kung and the entire hospital at the Women's College Hospital in Toronto, which is the best hospital at that time in 2004 for delivering babies, they were all amazed and shocked and said I was the only one and the first one that they've ever seen who did not scream and cry in agony and get all traumatized. And I was the only one who actually gave birth and walked and got up and walked like nothing happened.
Yes. Amazing.
Despite all the blood loss and everything.
Incredible. That's amazing. And afterwards, so your recovery, repair, healing, regeneration was
very fast. Was very fast. Like I said, my third degree cut down there, the vaginal third degree cut, was healed in about 2-3 days. I did not even use any salt bath or a cis bath like my friends did. And all of my friends, close girlfriends that I knew of who gave birth before me and after me, had apparently taken a month to recover because they each got infections, and I never got an infection. I just recovered.
Yes.
And they even they said they used a cis bath and they still got infections, but I did not. And
Yes.
And I was very happy and joyful and energetic after I gave birth.
Yes.
Um, I was happily looking after Sebastian, my son, day and night as a baby, and I had a lot of energy and stamina, uh, and he was a very easy going baby, very easy to look after. He
Yes.
slept long stretches. My friends were all so jealous of me that their babies were so colicky and difficult, and they were so exhausted, and I was full of energy and running around and joyfully looking after a very easygoing, calm, beautiful baby. I just felt so blessed. I
And
like
you feel
just
that also
incredible.
amazing. And so all of that would not have happened had you not got that hypnosis program and training.
Correct. I would
Yes.
have been like my mother and had 3 days of painful labor before the baby finally came out.
Yes.
So I went through that trauma with my mother because that's traumatic for my mother. And um, I swear to God, to myself, that I would never want to put myself through that. And I had the complete opposite experience with both my babies, and I would have had more babies if I could have. So
Yes. And amazing.
it was such an enjoyable experience for me and my babies, because we were able to develop such great deep bonds in
Yes.
a relaxing, comfortable manner with absolutely no trauma,
Yeah. And
no
that deep
tears.
bond, yeah, and that deep bond that you created with both your children, that was created prior to giving birth to them, was it?
Yes, it was,
Yes.
because I talked to them, I played with them by tapping
Yeah.
my tummy, and they would each play by tapping back at me, and
Yeah.
we would do night and day whenever we had time, and they would listen to my instructions to be quiet. So when it was nighttime and I wanted to sleep during my pregnancy, and if they were still kicking, I would tell my baby, okay, it's time for mommy to sleep now, so please stop kicking. At first, my son didn't listen. He kept kicking. And then finally I said, hey, stop it. And he actually really stopped. He stayed still the whole night, except when my husband came home late at night, my baby would start kicking because he would hear
Yes.
the door open, and I would have earplugs in,
Aha.
and I didn't hear anything, but I would feel the kicking, and baby has woken up, and I would see the lights being turned on outside, underneath my door. I would see lights being turned on outside the bedroom, and then I
Yes.
would know that, okay, my husband was home, and baby heard him, and therefore baby was excited and moving. And so he was very responsive and intelligent. And he would dance. I would feel him flutter and dance in my womb while I played classical music. So I'm sure that's another layer of
Yes.
training for my baby.
Yes, it
He
is.
actually could feel him dancing, because at some point I would have to turn off the music and leave the house to go to my hypnosis training. And
Yes,
I
yes.
felt him go, oh, come on, more music. Suddenly he went from dancing slowly to, oh, what happened? Where's the music? And then I said, sorry, baby, I have to go for him. We have to go for hypnosis training now.
Yes.
So
Amazing. And one last question. One last
yes,
question. Where after giving birth, where many women experience postpartum depression, you experienced what exactly?
I did not have postpartum depression. I had postpartum joy.
There you go. This is amazing. So I wanted to add these reflection questions at the end because all of what Santha experienced is going to be included in our training program as well. So we were going to do our program modeled after Santha's experience, plus some additional elements such as certain breathing patterns as well, because that was not part of her program. So
Correct.
we're going to be introducing certain breathing patterns as part of our Hypnorth Natural Birthing training program as well. So
Yes, we will
yes,
also address nutrition and diet and exercise as well as part of our training program, so that you get a complete holistic training on how to maximize the joy and health of your well-being during and after your pregnancy and childbirth.
yes, exactly. Great. Okay, so we just wanted to share Santha's first pregnancy today and do a little bit of an introduction to Hypnorth Natural Birthing. So thanks for tuning in. And remember, if you love what you hear on this channel, it's very inspiring. Number one, please subscribe if you have not subscribed. Please thumb up this video. Please leave a comment. And if you can share this, even better. So again, thanks for tuning in to episode 2 of the Hypnorth Natural Birthing Podcast. My name is James T. Griffin.
And my name is Santha.
And thanks again for tuning in. Create yourself a beautiful day, and we look forward to seeing you at the next episode.